Dr. Kervendas, good to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Actually, I am still a member of a lot of the minority groups in the U.S.
Right.
And with the vaccine trials, they've been struggling to get enough minorities because of trust issues in the past with some of the studies, which I think most of us are aware of, the Tuskegee study. So I'm here actually to try to encourage minority physicians to become more involved, because if they're more involved with the studies, then they're aware what the studies are, what the safety measures are, if there are any side effects, and they can actually counsel and look out for their patients.
Right.
So that's pretty much why I'm here, to actually get more of them involved, since I know some of them and I've kept in touch throughout the years and still member of some of the societies. The more of them that are involved, then they can actually look out for their populations.
Right.
And there should be less trust issues.
One of the things we know, Doctor, is that I guess the minority populations have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 and
True.
coronavirus, in particular African Americans. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I have heard many different reasons for that. I don't think we know. I do think they seek treatment a little bit later. They're not part of the establishment. The question is, are they treated equally when they do come into the service and come into the hospitals? It depends who you talk to. I don't know.
Okay.
And that's part of the trust issues that we're trying to change, because the
Right.
more involved you are, then you can really talk about it.
Is it harder to recruit African American participants in these trials than
Yes.
others? Why
Yeah.
is that? Because of a suspicion about vaccinations that just goes on, that's been around
It's-
culturally for a long time?
It's not just about vaccinations. I don't
Right.
think we are more suspicious about vaccination. It's a suspicion about research studies. You know about the Tuskegee. And, right. So in the syphilis trials, that was a sanctioned research trial.
By the government.
By the government.
Right. That might be worthwhile to expand on that a little bit, because listeners probably don't know what the Tuskegee incident was all about. But I'll just chime in a little bit. So in the 1930s, government scientists were trying to learn what the effects of syphilis were. And they went to places in the South, Tuskegee, Alabama, and they took about 400 African-American men who were infected with syphilis and just basically monitored them for 40 years. And even when penicillin became available as a treatment, they withheld that. When tetracycline was available as a treatment, they withheld it. They didn't even tell these people that they were in a study. They were being observed in a study. They were never consented, and they were told. They were just told to come to the office every year to see what was happening. A large number of those patients died of neurosyphilis, which is a complication of syphilis that affects the brain, and no one's ever told about it. The study went on for 40 years. This is a U.S. government study, and was only stopped after the Washington Post did an expose in 1973. So it's a horrible chapter in U.S. history and a horrible chapter in clinical trial history. But on the heels of that, there was an ethical sinecure is I guess the right word, that is called the Belmont Report, and that was published in 1979. And basically that set the stage for the modern era of clinical research, where very strict ethical rules are upheld. And so we can reassure everybody that when things are done in research, they're all reviewed by an ethics committee. We're all trained to be really be a stickler for these ethical principles.
Right.
And one of the very important principles is called distributive justice. And distributive justice means that the burden of research should be spread amongst different populations. But it also means the benefits of research should be spread amongst different populations.
Okay.
So when we have a study like this, we're well into the study, we're seeing pretty good results so far, though we don't know the final results, good results in terms of safety. There's probably a net benefit from participating. We can't guarantee that by any means, but there probably is. So it's also a responsibility to let the population know about that.
Right.
Lisa?
Yeah, so for minorities being involved, they're monitored. You'll be able to check up on their other medical issues. What we would like to see, does it work as well for us minorities? And do we have different side effects? There have been different research projects that show certain drugs work better in minorities and not as good in others, or work better in non-minorities. So we really need to know. I think this drug I think the vaccine will be mandated, and we'd like to know what it's going to do to us before it's mandated.
Right, right.
And it's just to be part of it while we're doing it. So for the trust issues, we would actually like the physicians more involved at this level, and if we can help them, because I think a lot of them don't know how to navigate the system and even get into some of these studies.
Right.
I've heard about them trying to get in other ways and didn't quite make it. So there is distrust and saying that the establishment does not want them in the study. If you talk to some of the physicians, that's what I've been told, and we're trying to change that.